Welcome to another episode, Pound for Pound Boxing Report, episode 222. I am your host, Michael. Joining me this week, Gail from Communities Digital News, Daniel from the Inscriber. What's going on, lady and gent?
Hey, glad to be here. We got to start early this week because it was a busy fight weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and besides, I'm so surprised I survived the storm without not really that much damage. B, this is maybe the only night I have to do the show this week, so I might as well get it in early while it's fresh on everyone's mind. For those who are new, Pound for Pound Box Report, Pound for Pound Box Report, a live YouTube show, as well as podcast and blog discussing all things boxing. Motto is when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When it's bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns sweet science, we will talk about it. If you want to find out all information regarding Pound for Pound Boxing Report, blog page is the place to go to, p4pboxingreport.wordpress.com. Check the right of the page. You can find links to where you can catch the Pound for Pound Box Report, various pages all over social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, G+, and all that, as well as links to where to listen to the show on everywhere that carries a podcast, minus SoundCloud, the iTunes, the Google Play Music, Stitcher, and whatnot. Let's get this show started. Let's just get right to it. Recapping the big fight of the weekend. Gennady Golovkin, Canelo Alvarez took place in Vegas, the rematch. Good fight, highly competitive fight. Canelo ended up getting the decision, 115, 113 on two of the three judges, three scorecards, even on the third. A lot of, again, talk afterwards, controversy to many, just like it was in the first bout. A lot of people felt Golovkin won the fight. For me, I was able to get power, have power throughout the fight. Lost it not too long afterwards, but I was able to keep power through the fight. I'm going the opposite here. I had Canelo winning by 2 points. A lot of people feel otherwise. Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy, just basically sent out an email going in great detail to basically express why he feels that Canelo Alvarez won. I'll go to you, Gail, since you got the email, you forwarded it to me. I believe you was in Vegas for the fight. Your impressions of the fight, who do you have winning?
I was in Vegas for the fight. It was a terrifically exciting fight. Let's put it that right on the table now. A tremendous fight by both competitors. Very, very likely on the short list for fight of the year, if not the fight of the year, but because of the stakes involved. I scored it while I was sitting there round by round, and made notations on several rounds, which were dead close, really, really close. So no matter what, if you've got more than a couple of points swing either way, you're just a fanboy. That's the truth. I scored it 8-4 for Golovkin. I could have easily scored it 7-5 rounds for Golovkin, easily. But I did think he had done enough to win the fight, particularly in the last half of the fight. Yes, there were times where he looked visibly out of breath. But other than seeing him breathing hard, really visibly thinking about taking in deep breaths, it didn't alter his performance. So whether a guy's breathing hard or not, it shouldn't matter if he's performing. So that was a comment I heard a lot. And he was the only one of the two who had his opponent at all in trouble. And there was a point in either the 9th or 10th round, and now I don't recall, where he buzzed Canelo hard. Now, admittedly, he's clearly lost a step. He's 37 years old, so that's not a big news flash. But I do think he did enough to win the fight. Having said that, credit and respect to Canelo for bringing in a different game plan that forced a different kind of fight. Very smart. Once he got into gear in the first half of the fight, he was very effective at times. Very, very effective. But backing up somebody does not alone win you a fight. And I just, being dead close, I gave it to Golovkin. I will also say that at the end of that 12th round, the group of media that were around me, it's very rare that in a group of media you hear people cheering or clapping or anything of that sort. And it's frowned on. It's not entirely professional. That was going on. That was going on after that last round. Everyone around me, including me, felt very confident that Golovkin was going to get the nod. When we heard that first 114 score announced, there was a groan. But the truth is, we would have been better off with another draw. And you know what? In this case, I would have had no problem with a draw, honestly. It was that good and in many ways that even of a fight. But there was a lot of shock, if not surprise, by the media around me. Virtually everybody had Golovkin edging out Canelo. There is a Reddit thread. For those of you who haven't seen it, I recommend you looking it up. Somebody assembled all of the scores published by members of the boxing media who were present that they could find. And they found about 40, 45 different scores. They missed mine, but they've got all the other familiar, high quality, big name boxing media there. Dan Rayfield, Michael Woods, Greg Beecham, Kevin Iole, Keith Idek. You get the picture. Out of the 40 plus media, something like 38 or 39 of them had it either a draw or scored for Golovkin. Very, very interesting. So today we get, after 48 hours of letting this percolate through all of our heads, just about an hour ago, via Golden Boy's email newsletter, Oscar De La Hoya issued a statement. It's all over boxing Twitter. You can easily find it. Essentially, he answers some of the criticisms that obviously have gotten under his skin enough to the point he felt he had to respond. Had he asked me whether this was a good idea, I would have said, no. Haters going to hate. Your guy won. Shut up and move on. But for whatever reason, Oscar was compelled to respond. Now we're going to have another 24 hours of, looking back and picking through this thing. I don't know really what possessed him to do it, other than just he was angry or hangry or had hit the bar. I don't know. I think it was a bad idea.
I'll go to you, Dan. I'll wait until later and ask that question. I'll go to you, Daniel. Your quick recap. Like I said, I was with you, EJ Boxing Live, now to others in a hangout for as long as I could to watch the entire card. I believe you had Canelo winning the fight as well. After maybe a second look, has your mind changed? Your impressions of the fight?
I would give one extra round to Golovkin. That's probably about it. And because the way I saw it, and like I said, this is probably where I will probably going to be accused to be a fanboy, most likely. But the first round, it was a lot of jabs. I can make an argument, that belonged to Gennady. You can make the argument it belonged to Canelo because Canelo at least threw some power punches to it, but it was mostly a jab fest. And then pretty much for almost the first half of the fight afterwards, you saw Canelo executing his game plan. Well, mind you, like you pointed out, him not being that mobile because of the knee. So he stood his ground a little bit. He countered better. And one thing I think that Oscar did mention, and this is an argument that is subjective when it comes to people when they score fights. is, okay, Golovkin landed more punches, he should have won. The vast majority of those punches were jabs. You can make the case for Golovkin for that because his jab is usually a power jab. It isn't something he just throws to pitter-patter. He throws it with conviction. Even with that, that's how he started the fight. And that's how he did a lot better in the second half of the fight. It didn't affect Canelo that much as far as executing his game plan. Your jab is only as good as if it can disrupt your opponent while at the same time setting up your offense or giving you enough time to get away on defense while the other guy's trying to counter. And throughout the fight, Golovkin was landing the jabs, but Canelo was then starting to land more of the power shot. He started to land more to the body. And looking at it, like I said, I give Triple G the 8th, 9th, and 10th round easily. Those were his best rounds to me. And then in the 11th round, I think this is what wound up happening. He hit Canelo, and then I think he backed him up to the ropes and did nothing. I think he tried to find an angle where Canelo wouldn't counter, and no time has passed where then Canelo pivoted away. The Gennady from the first fight wouldn't have let that happen. And yes, in the 10th and the 11th and 12th rounds, Gennady hurt Canelo. But he didn't do it in a way where you can say he was really that much in trouble. In fact, I think in a sequence in the 10th, especially in the 10th round, Gennady hurt Canelo. And then the ensuing punches he kept throwing, Canelo just bobbed and weaved and made him miss. And he kind of did that thing I tuned in the 11th round. The 12th rounds where you could sense the danger there, but I could see people giving it, like I said, 7-5 to Canelo. I can see people trying to do a draw because it was that close of a fight. Like, it's prepared for some punches. It's either going to be, do you establish the jab or do you focus on body punching and power punching? Like I said, I know, Gary, I think you scored at 8-4 left. I honestly can't see it. I can't see it because I don't think Gennady did enough to deter Canelo's game plan to really, really factor in giving him 8 rounds. I could see somebody trying to give him 7-5 or even a draw. I can't see 8-4 because in actually give an example, like I think in the 3rd, 4th rounds when you watch the HBO broadcast and you see Harold Lederman gave Golovkin, I think, rounds 3 through 6. While when you look at the fight, Gennady was just mostly throwing the jab, and then Canelo landing to the body, and then Gennady never answered to the body. And that's the other thing probably lost in the fight more than anything. Gennady Golovkin has abandoned the body attack completely. I don't know if he thought it was just going to be because he could just win it on the jab, but you had to focus on the body if you know somebody like Canelo who can tire himself out in the middle of the fight. You got to hit him to the body because otherwise, if we saw from the first fight, he'll catch a second wind. I didn't see that from Gennady, and that's probably most likely what cost him the fight. Not the jabs, not the defense, it's the fact that he wasn't able to really frustrate Canelo enough where his performance was teetering. But I'll admit, it was a really good fight. There were a lot of rounds I could see somebody give the other way. I can't see 8-4 from Golovkin. I could see 7-5 for Golovkin. I can see a draw. Like I said, and then looking at it the second time, I can see the other 2 scorecards, 7-5 Canelo. But that's the beauty of a close fight. That's the beauty of 2 guys that are not only ring generals, but excellent technicians of their craft having this fight, because at this stage, 10 out of 10 times in the fight, it's going to be this. It's going to be a close fight.
Um, Two things. Um, I find it interesting the difference in the perspectives. The view of the fight was different from when it came to the media and fighters. And what I mean by that is a lot of, to Gail's point, a lot of the media members being on press row or even amongst those on boxing, Twitter had the fight for Golovkin, while a lot of the fighters, be it Bud, be it uh, Andre Ward, be it Errol Spence, Roy Jones, they had the fight for Canelo. Want to go to both of you, to talk about that kind of discrepancy, if you will, between how the fighters viewed the fighters their vantage point of the fight versus the way the media saw the fight. And whoever want to jumps in first, I don't care.
Well, it's interesting. Some of the fighters saw it for Canelo. Some of them saw it for Golovkin. Once again, there was a huge difference of opinion. And, you know, whenever you've got any sport, and this is not particular to boxing, any sport that is judged by human beings and their assessment by the naked eye in real time, human beings are all different. We're all cut from different DNA, different experiences, eyesight, age, position. I mean, there are infinite numbers of variables that make all of our view and assessment completely different. And we all value different things when we're judging. So these sort of arguments and discrepancies happen in, let's think about how many times this has happened in things like gymnastics, like figure skating, all of the angst people have over refereeing in any sport, soccer, football. Let's think about how many times a referee has, their judgment has altered the course of an athletic competition. Tennis. Let's just think about what just happened to Serena Williams. So before we go there, anybody who says judges are bought off, judges are on the take, judges are corrupt. No, judges are human. Judges are human. Some judges are way out of line on occasion, Adelaide Bird, but judges who score a couple of points difference one way or the other, judges are human. And that's the way it goes. It's just, there's no big fix. However, judges who are trained in certain systems and judges who come from certain systems, who associate with each other, who know each other, share their thoughts, talk about things, and they do over the years start tending to judge alike. So you have a certain school of judging in Nevada that's a lot different from judging on the East Coast. Your judges in the Midwest tend to screw it up more because they don't have as much experience. A guy who's in Sloan, Iowa doesn't judge a lot of fights. If you're in Los Angeles, you're judging fights 2-3 nights of the week, every week, if you want to keep that busy. And they get really, really good at it. Same for the judges are in the, tri-state area. So, we can brush that part aside. And I think the same happens with the media, although I did think it was interesting, absolutely, how many of them sought for Golovkin. However, I think there was a much bigger difference of opinion among the fighters. I saw a lot of them, calling it for Golovkin. Now, interestingly enough, a lot of the fighters who are Americans or Mexicans saw it for Canelo. A lot of the Eastern European fighters saw it for Golovkin. So, take that what you will. But that's, again, the school of boxing they come from, the way they themselves are trained, what they find valuable. It's the argument about power versus work rate. You know, do you commend the guy who worked harder the whole fight, or the guy that landed, you know, a couple of good power shots? And you have legitimate arguments on both sides that, you know, until we come up with an automated AI system for judging boxing and every other sport, you know, we're never going to resolve these things. We just have to move on. But if Golovkin and his team are smart, he'll never box in Vegas again, ever.
Sorry, I was on mute. I see Scorsese has joined us. Get him into the conversation. We're talking um, Canelo Alvarez, his win over Gennady Golovkin Saturday night in Vegas. Give you the opportunity to give your impressions of the fight.
Gail, you had Canelo losing big.
Not big. You know, at the time, my scorecard was 8-4. Truthfully, okay. I called rounds 3, 5, 7, and 11 hard to score. A third of the fight, you know, swing rounds, if you will. So, yeah, while I called it that way, it was close. It was a very, very close fight. It was a terrific fight. I really hope anyone's disappointment in the score doesn't take away from the enjoyment that they got for 12 good rounds of boxing.
Yeah, agree. Okay. I missed your point when I was late. So
I'm glad you asked. Thanks.
When you said he shouldn't fight there anymore, I just personally felt like you did with some of the rounds. I just intended, or I had Canelo winning the fight. I actually got a card here, but I'm not gonna go through all the rubble and I did anyways. Why I said I wasn't. I gave Canelo 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 score rounds, and I gave Triple G 1, 2, 3, 4. And I missed 2 rounds, and I think everybody said Triple G won those rounds. So even with the close fight, I had Canelo winning, rightfully so. But I cannot look at anybody and say you dominated that fight. Canelo, facial damage wise, he did his thing on Golovkin. Never seen him look like that after a fight. Canelo, you know, if you say you didn't win, he just points to the face and said, look at that. But I mean, I think they could fight 3 or 4 times unless Triple G just gets completely old, and they would do the same thing again. It was a good night of boxing for them, a lot of money, but I'm hoping they don't ask me to pay for that again. I did it. I paid you $90 to $100. I feel like I had a right to say don't do it again now. All right, please. Like, it's more legacy there. They're just stalemates. That's stalemates, and some people made the argument that the champion should get his shot at it. He got 2 already. He got 2, and that's, I don't know how much money he's made. Probably well over $50 million over these 2 fights. It's time to move on, fight new people, build new legacies. I just feel like they can't do anything different. Like Canelo. People's telling me fight like a Mayweather, but to me, it's an older Mayweather. It's not I just watched Mayweather versus Indu. It's not the Mayweather that could throw a leaping left hook, miss it, fall off balance, and be right on balance to throw a right hand in less than 0.5 seconds. It's not that Mayweather. He kind of reminded you of Floyd versus McGregor, the way he was walking him down. That's a 40-year-old Mayweather. On the ropes, the last fight, it was a 38-year-old Mayweather on the ropes, just moving along the ropes. It's not the athletic Mayweather. So, and with Triple G, he's not the greatest athlete either. So neither one's going to have the greatest defense. I don't see nothing changing. Unless a shot lands and somebody gets knocked out, I'm not willing to pay for that and see it. Y'all had 24 rounds to do that already. I don't want to make it a possible 36. That middleweight division is hotter than it has been since I don't know when. It's the hottest I've ever seen it while I've been a fan, personally. And they got 2 fights, October the 20th, October the 27th. Those are both title fights. You got Charlo that ain't getting the title fight. You got Murata that ain't getting the title fight. How do you have 4 title fights? 3 different title fights? Those are stacked. And then people in the back of the division still, that's huge opponents, hard challenges. They got no opponent. That's because the division is crazy. And I want to see it just mix and mingle. Good fight. Can't argue with whatever card. I don't know if Golovkin should stay out of Vegas. It's just like it. I just really thought it was close. Maybe he's gonna feel that way. A loss gonna make him feel that way. But at some point, you know, he's getting older. I'm wondering, when is it gonna be time for him? You don't want to come out of fight 35, 36 years old with that kind of face.
Well, he's already said, and so has Sanchez, that they think he's got 4 to 5 fights left in his career.
I thought you were going to say 4 to 5 years. I was like, man, that's a stretch.
No, 4 to 5 fights. So if he fights 2 or 3 times a year, you know, that gets him done by the time he's 38, 39 years old. I certainly think he's going to, it seems like he's going to aim for perhaps another fight at the very end of the year beginning. And, you know, the scuttlebutt is that there's some serious talk about a traditional New Year's Eve fight against Murata in Japan. I think that would be an excellent move for him. And you know what? I agree with you. I'm not sure I want to see this again. I don't need to read this book again. I really don't. Let's move on. Let's send him around to a few other venues. He is a very international fighter and draw. And, you know, if he's only going to have a handful more fights, you know, let him do the international tour for his last handful of fights. There's plenty of good middleweights all over the place. And, you know, the one belt that he didn't hand over to Canelo that he's always wanted, you know, is living in England right now. And we know he'd be a big draw there as well. If I'm advising him, I send him over there and try to get a belt back.
October 20th. Billy Joe date. It's Billy
Joe, which I'm sure we'll be talking about him a little later.
Going to you, Daniel, to the question I asked earlier about kind of the different opinions when it came to media and a lot of boxers, your reaction to that?
This is a constant divide that you see in all of athletics, where it's where it's a discussion whether the people that did it versus the people that cover it. And I'm not surprised by some of the media trying to giving it to Triple G. And I'm going to make an analogy to baseball when it comes to how media operates in baseball. And I'll ask a simple question. Just based on merit, not controversy aside, just based on merit, should Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds be in the Hall of Fame right now?
Yeah.
What's stopping them?
Steroids. Or the PEDs, I put it that way, the PEDs.
Yes. Now, let's mind you, like, if we're going to go into the history of baseball, media knew about this, didn't pay attention to it, but once they got out, they started to get on the moral high horse. And now there's this little rule, like this little cabal of baseball writers who, despite the merit, who despite everything, like you can have Barry Bonds have a Hall of Fame career, just what he did to the Pittsburgh Pirates. But their sentiment is, you did it once, you should never be in the Hall of Fame. And you're starting to see this happening a lot. It feels like it's almost the same way now in boxing, where you're not going to give a guy a benefit of the doubt because he popped 30 in a way, whether it's malicious or benign. In Canelo's case, like I said, there's always going to be a difference. It's either you believe him that he eats tainted meat, or you think he's a drug cheat. And there's probably a sentiment to me that feels like inside, like, okay, you did this, you shouldn't get the benefit of the doubt for it. For the boxers that did it, it's true. It's a difference in styles. It's for the athlete difference in styles. It's true. Like, not just boxers, athletes in general. They're from Eastern Europe. I'll highlight Kristaps Porzingis of the New York Knicks. He called it a robbery. Compared to athletes from Mexico, or like the Charlos, Roy Jones that you mentioned, like Spence. Actually, Spence said. Actually, the quote I think Spence said was, Golovkin and Abel talking about Mexican style, and then Mexican brought it to him.
Let's stop on that. I'm gonna stop you right there. Um, Roy Jones said the same thing. I've read stuff where Andre Ward said similar thing. Um, go into that where Golovkin basically said, Canelo, I want you to come to fight. And Canelo, I think because of the issues with the knee, you notice during the fight he had taping over I think it was the right knee.
Yeah.
He came forward from jump and really didn't let up. Took the fight to Canelo, to Golovkin, excuse me. Golovkin opted to box largely on the back foot, particularly the first 3/4 of the bout, right? Um, and doing large chunks of that segment, Canelo was putting in work, um, putting damage to Golovkin's face. He had that cut neck swelling for a reason. It's because Canelo was landing a whole lot of punches to the face. What do you think reaction to the fact that Golovkin chose to essentially box? He didn't stand there and fight with him, especially given the main complaint from the first fight for Golovkin was he didn't go to the body. He didn't go to the body for large segments of the first fight. He didn't go to the body for large segments of the second fight. So your thoughts on that criticism of Golovkin in this second fight in terms of strategy? Call the guy out, but when the guy steps to you, you opted to fight backwards. You decide to box instead of standing there, fight with him, and attack the body.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go back to the weigh-in, actually. And I know a lot of people did say it was a little bit of fluff, and it is. It was a little bit of fluff. You always get this confrontational tone. That doesn't matter which fight is it, but you're always going to get a confrontation in a way. And you got it in this case from Canelo. When it came to Golovkin, now Golovkin remained calm. He remained poised like a professional. But then notice how he and Abel came out to the ring. There was a nervousness there that I've never seen from Golovkin. And I've rarely seen it from Abel. Where, to me, like in the back mindset is, I think that was probably the first time somebody went to Gennady's face like that in his time as a champion. Everybody else has given him space, including Canelo the first time. Gave him the space, gave him the deference as a champion, gave him respect. And I think I know you mentioned this, Gail, last week where you thought that Abel rattled Canelo's cage. He might have flipped the script at the weigh-in. Where now it really went, okay, this guy's not actually scared of me. For the first time, this guy's legitimately not scared of me. And they may have rattled their plan a bit. And in a way, they reverted a little bit to the David Lemieux plan, which was effective to the jab, stop, in this case, Canelo's momentum, and then be able to counter with power shots. The problem is that Canelo is a natural counterpuncher, and he was countering off the jab rather than just stopping. And in all honesty, I went into this in EJ's hangout. There's also the distortion of what Mexican style is. When people think Mexican style, if you throw it to a casual fan, you think of Vasquez Marquez or Barrera Morales, where it's just bloodbaths from time to time. The reality is the Mexican style has a good mix of defense and a good variance when it comes to athleticism and style on top of a come forward, focusing on body punching, workman style. And I also think what mainly stopped Golovkin probably from going all out is he remembered that on the first fight when he was doing that, particularly on the ropes, Canelo always had a counter to get out of, not only get out of it, but pretty much negate some of what Golovkin did. Not all of it. Negate some of what Golovkin did. And I go back to what I mentioned in the 11th round. Gennady had Canelo on the ropes and did nothing. Like I said, I think he was trying to find a way where he could land his power shots, but in the back of his mind but he actually knows how to counter my power shots. I think that to me it's a little bit of a difference, and ultimately it's also the fact that Abel talks a lot of smack, and if we're gonna bring like Spence was with Jamal Charlo, we know what Abel Sanchez has said about Jamal Charlo and black fighters in particular. So in a way, it was probably just them poking a little bit at the bear, and then just getting back at Abel for some of the stuff that he said about them. Which we have to mind you, a lot of people thought that was just finding the base for Gennady to not face those guys.
Quickly, Lo, I want since it's been a while since you've been on the show, I want your reaction as well to the fact that there was criticism, particularly by fighters, that you call this dude to come fight you, to stand there and go toe to toe, and when he did, Golovkin decided to box. For me, it's like a lot of fighters have been intimidated by Golovkin, even before they step in the ring. For this fight in particular, Canelo showed none of it. He stepped to him during the weigh-in. He stepped to him during the fight. And the reaction from Golovkin in the ring, it kind of raised eyebrows among fighters in particular.
Maybe it was strategic thinking. I'm gonna box from the outside. I can hit him with the jab. That's one answer. Let's go to the one I want to say. Congratulations on Daniel for giving a point that I forgot to give because I was so worried about not seeing this again. Dude, 36 years old, I believe. And he does. The thing about it is the 27 or 28-year-old has more big fight experience than you. That means you don't throw body punches. You haven't learned certain things you need to do because everybody was scared. Everybody was too scared to give you work. And they should have been scared. A lot of those guys are limited fighters at the highest level, at above average level. If you go anywhere above average with them, they'll break, they'll fold. They might not win a round. And Golovkin, besides 2 fights, probably didn't lose a round for forever because he's fighting stiffs. You got in his face a little bit, rough him up a little bit. Some change, man. Some change. It's like, Mr. Doc says it all the time. He calls him Tommy Boy, and he flat out tells him, yo, should have put him in with somebody. Should have learned something. It's just that on that. That's the simplest answer. The young guy has more experience than the old guy. How many times do you see that?
Experience. Go ahead, Gail.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in here. Part of the issue that's come, the chickens that have come home to roost for Golovkin is how much time of his prime fighting years he spent on the shelf dicking around in Germany and waiting for opportunities, and he had this fixation on Felix Sturm. He wasted a lot of time. He would be in so much better of a position if that hadn't happened. He would have had a fight of this caliber 5-6 years ago. I'm sometimes, as they say, the simplest explanation is the right one. Age has a lot to do with this. Age. He is far older than Canelo. And I think what we saw a lot of on Saturday was age catching up to him. It's one thing to say I'm going to do something and another to say I'm training it in the gym. And when the night comes, realize you're just a tiny bit slower than you thought you were going to be. and a tiny bit less powerful than you thought you were going to be against someone who's very fast. That's one of Canelo's best and most underrated assets. He has lightning quick reflexes. His reflexes are impressive, and that's what generates the speed for him. And that there's very little you can do if you aren't as fast, if your eyes aren't picking that up, which, speaking as probably the senior member of this panel, let me tell you, that shit catches up on you fast and you don't realize it. I'm going to blame a whole lot of this lack of closing the show, if you will, on his age. There's a lot of things you can intend to do that you find out you've just simply not got the juice in the tank. And Golovkin, as good as he was Saturday, clearly was a step slower than the prime we've seen him in. I attribute a lot of his problems to that.
Two or three more things, but quickly. Daniel mentioned the drugs for Canelo. Okay, maybe if it was tainted, that's the best thing to go with as I make this argument. Let's say it was tainted. No excuse. The man went and had a knee surgery, year layoff. You got so many one-offs now. It's even now. Year layoff, knee surgery. You got to stay active. All of that. No excuse. None whatsoever. It's just Canelo, I guess I could say was the better fighter. At least the scorecard said he was. Move on. Basically, for them two, I pray to God they do. Without dropping titles and looking like real fighters instead of just flat-out businessmen.
I want to point out something else that I just remembered. When people mention that he can't win a fight in Vegas, the Nevada State Athletic Commission did things that they normally don't like to do in the lead up to this particular fight because of that notion. Two of the judges that scored the fight were not from Vegas. They were from the East Coast. The Nevada State Athletic Commission doesn't do that. They went out of their way to try to get a referee from out of state. Normally, they make sure they try to get a referee from Vegas. In fact, I think both camps actually wanted the original ref, Kenny Bayless, to still be there. But Mr. Bayless had a prior engagement that prevented him from doing so. And let's not forget that that little fabled argument that Abel Sanchez had with Tony Weeks that prevented him from being the judges. They eventually signed Benji Estevez. They went out of state just to at least eliminate some notion that this was going to be like a Vegas-style fight. And all of them did a good job. Did they suddenly just become Nevada judges and just said, we're going to score for the Nevada fighter? No. All three of those judges and Benji Estevez have done at least 100 title fights, whether it's judging or refereeing. And you rarely hear complaints from those judges or Benji Estevez. So that's one part that gripes me when it comes to the Vegas. However, there is a notion. There's always that notion that certain fighters you just can't beat in their hometown. Like you had that with Canelo. You had that with Canelo now. You had that with Floyd. I think you had it at some point, I forgot, with Cotto in New York until Margarito happened. So there's always this notion, but if they're gonna do it again, which I agree with Scorsese, I hope they don't, because it's just not gonna look good at this stage of career with how Gennady looked. Find a neutral site, or if you neutral site would be New York. Canelo's never really fought in Madison Square Garden. He could do that.
But that would be considered a Golovkin hometown fight. He considers that home. I say you do it in Dallas. Jerry Jones has wanted a big-ass fight forever. That's neutral enough. Honestly, I think that, except if you have Lawrence Cole as a referee, I mean, God forbid.
There's the caveat, Gail. There's the caveat. I don't trust Texas with referees.
By the way, I do want to make this point. Notice that of all the discussion that's been had, or at least what I've read or heard or seen, the name Benji Estevez Jr. has not come up. That means when a referee's that invisible, he did a
good
job.
job.
Really good job. Credit to him. Frequently, one of the things everyone's bitching about after the fact is the referee, and that's not happening. So, much respect to him. He really did not make himself a factor, which was terrific.
I hear you guys, all of you saying that you don't want to see a third fight. You don't want to see a third fight. Two things. Money matters, and money matters particularly with Golden Boy in HBO. So, you know what that means? Probably a year from now, we're going to see a third fight.
I absolutely agree. You can book those rooms right now.
I know. So that's just the reality. People are in their feelings. The same folks who are saying, well, when it comes to a Canelo fight, he's always going to get the decision. He's always going to get the decision. They'll pay the money to see these two fight again. That's what happens.
Yeah. And for all of the talk and all the discussion and, while nobody who's got any sense is calling this a robbery in either direction, there are people who are displeased with the outcome. Let me tell you something. The $5 million purse plus at least that much more in endorsements and deals and percentages is going to go a long, long way toward making Golovkin feel better.
Right. Let's move on to talk about the other fights on that card. I'm going to split these up. Going to go to Jaime Munguia, who has came on the scene like a house of fire. Blew out Saddam Ali to win the WBO belt at 154 pounds. Fought Beefy Smith, highly entertaining bout that he won. Showed some flaws, but he returned to the ring on the undercard of Triple G Canelo rematch. Fought Brandon Cook, blew him out. I'll go to you, Scorsese, because you've been raving about this guy. Speak on his performance.
I'm going to continue to rave. I like dude, man. It's not polished. Who cares, though? He gets the job done. And I think you put him in there with anybody in that division, and he's going to show them I got heart, I got power, I have everything I need to beat you. And even though it's not everything he actually needs to be successful going through the weights, but for everybody at that division, there's something that he can do right now at that age. I truly believe it with youth and just he's determined. You know what I'm saying? He looks like he's never been told, never been told you can't. Somebody put him in his place in the ring with hands and told him you can't. He still fights that way. I love that. As far as the brawling way, he's like the Mexican HBO version of Jared Hurd that throws harder punches and more crisp combinations. I don't know if he can. I've seen Hurd do his little boxing move sometime on the back foot. They don't get a little credit for it depending on the opponent he fight. I don't know if Jaime, I almost called him homie. Matter of fact, homie, that's his name for me. That's my homie, boy. Hey, that's his new name, man. I don't know if homie got that. I don't know if he got, that's my guy.
I love it.
Homie, yeah. Homie Munguia, that's my guy, man. I am I don't know the age. I think 22. That's great.
21. The kid can freaking gamble in Las Vegas.
That's great. That is great, bro. That's a grown man in that division, a young grown man, a young lion. And it's just fun. Them punches, man, that Cook dude, if I'm him, I pick my check up. I took 3 of them and touched a knee. The hell with this. He thought about it so many times. Like, he was finding a place to sleep. And I'm like, dude, the whole house is open, bro. Pick any room. And it just took all this extra punishment. And Jaime wasn't giving no breaks. And I agree with what now to say. He actually pumped his jab a little more, respected his distance some a little more. Had a much smaller opponent. But Liam Smith gave him all that hell, and Jaime, he bit down. And I said, kid like that, he could have folded, got a cut or something, said, I'm done with this. Nope. Like that dude. Flat out. I don't care if they unify tomorrow. I don't care if they give me that again, to be honest with you, 21. If they give me that again and him beating Pose for the next 2 years, I'm going to enjoy them ass whoopings.
HBO, from what I hear, already has plans for him to fight again in
David
December
Lemieux?
to close out the year.
Is it David Lemieux?
I'm not sure. I wouldn't think so. He's
No.
54. David Lemieux, he's struggling to make 60. We'll talk about him in a quick second. Um, if it's true that if Canelo is really serious about fighting in December, I don't see it. But if it does happen, I can see Munguia fighting on the undercard of that. Munguia, he's not ready for. I don't think he's ready for Charlo yet. I don't think he's quite ready for Hurd yet. Hurd got a tricky style. He does a lot more than he's given credit for. But Munguia, he's an exciting guy. He's an exciting guy. If Golden Boy was smart, they would try to build the brand a little bit more before they put him in with the likes of a Charlo and a Hurd, because he's an exciting guy. He has personality, and he puts butts in seats. And for a young guy, and he's talented on top of that. For a young guy, that's all you can ask for at this point of his career. I hate to put this fight on you, Gail, but I'm gonna let you talk about this fight anyway. It's not going to take long. David Lemieux, Spike O'Sullivan. Lemieux put him out in one round via a left hook. See, this is I didn't think much of this fight beforehand. And based on what I saw from that brief 2 minutes or whatever, it showed why I didn't think nothing of it. I don't trust Lemieux, but I trusted Spike even less. It was expected. That was a joke.
I think it's a little harsh to say it was a joke. What it does show is when David Lemieux trains with serious intentions, gets the weight off, gets himself into good shape, he's dangerous. He doesn't always have quite the work ethic, particularly on the diet and fitness side, that he should. And when he slacks off there, he struggles. This was a tailor-made fight for him, and the key was he came in great shape. When we saw him at the weigh-in, we thought, well, he's going to make weight. He looks phenomenal. He looked great. And that also tells us, okay, he came to play. Now, we didn't realize he came to play quite like that. I think that normally it would have taken him a few more rounds to land a shot like that. But hey, sometimes you just get lucky. You find the target and boom, there it is. And, sitting there watching it up close, you could tell how shocked O'Sullivan was. Honest to God, I think he had talked himself into believing all shit he talked for weeks. He started believing his own hype, and that led him down the wrong path. At least he congratulated Lemieux after the fight. Grudgingly, he did. But this was the Canelo sweepstakes, and Lemieux won it. And I'm glad, because I think Lemieux will be a far better fight with Canelo than O'Sullivan will. And the plan that everyone here's percolating going on is that, yes, Canelo wants one more fight before the end of the year, that Lemieux will be the opponent, and Munguia would fight on the undercard. Munguia is the heir apparent to Canelo. And the more Golden Boy can expose Munguia to Canelo's fans and confer the blessing on him on the come up, the better. Munguia's got several years to go, and the best thing is for Golden Boy, should he continue on the path that it looks like he is, he's someone they're going to be able to rely on for a long, long time. He is a tall kid. He's every bit of 6 feet tall. He could go up through 2 or 3 more weight divisions if he plays his cards right, and there's no reason to think he wouldn't. So, looking at Canelo fighting either Lemieux or O'Sullivan, Lemieux is by far the more preferable opponent. Plus, you can legitimately say he's, former title holder. Now, we had really hoped we'd see a little more of a brawl. I personally had hoped we'd see a brawl similar to the way Lemieux and Hassan Andam fought, which is a very underrated fight. That was just a terrific fight that a lot of people missed because it was the same night as the Broner Maidana beatdown.
Yeah, but Spike is not as good as Undam. Not even close.
No, and he's not, and he started making mistakes right from the get go. It was a very entertaining 3 minutes. What can I say?
I'm going to you, Daniel. Look, 2017 was not kind to Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez at all. Uh, he lost his title. He lost his undefeated record to Sri Sakat Soa Rungvisai. Fought him in a rematch and got bodied in 4 rounds. At that point, a lot of people felt that, maybe it's time for Roman to call it a day. Maybe 115 pounds is just too big for him. He took some time off. He returned on the undercard of Triple G Canelo to fight Moises Fuentes. And look, I felt on balance that he's the far superior fighter to Fuentes. And if his head is right, that he should stop him. And, Chocolatito did just that. He showed some spring in his step, some energy out there. He pretty much dominated Fuentes from the first 4 rounds. And in round 5, he exploded with a right hook that deposited Fuentes. Felt like a sack, but felt like he had been shot, literally. He felt like he had been shot. Referee called a halt to the fight because it was done. It was over. Your thoughts on how Chocolatito look, and give kind of a prognostication of him going forward.
I hope he goes back down to 112.
Prognostication, excuse me for I'm getting my words.
Yeah.
Trying to pronounce the word right. Prognostication. I'm sorry.
Yeah. But like I said, I honestly hope he goes back down to 112. He looked good in this fight. The layoff did good for him as far as like clearing his mind, getting some of that bad juju from the Rungvisai fights out of the way. And he fought a decent opponent, Moises Fuentes. But you could tell like he was never going to be able to match Chocolatito's work rate. And just the way that he ended the fight on that little crisp right hook show that he does have a little bit left. The problem is we noticed he looked a little bit puffy too at 115 pounds. He may, like I said, he may need to go back down to 112 to actually be truly effective because could probably do better against the division as it stands now. And B, if you're not going to go at the Rungvisai, which I completely understand, I would completely advise against, the other big money fight that was available, the guy's no longer there. He's in the World Boxing Super Series as a bantamweight. And now Inoue. So if it's about competition, if it's about him actually competing, being the champion, I would say go back down to 112. You probably fare a lot better. It just depends on what he's going to do. If it's about money, if it's now looking to cash out, why not rematch Estrada then? Why not rematch Quad?
I think the Estrada rematch is where we're going with this. I really do. Estrada wants it for sure. And if they were to rematch at the Superfly 4 tournament, which is tentatively expected in March or April next year.
Wait a minute. He wants a rematch with Chocolatito more than he wants to rematch with Rungvisai?
Not more, but he wants them both. I mean, he wants to set things right, in both directions. So I don't think he cares which one comes first. Probably would be better for Estrada to take, you know, the easier revenge match first. Chocolatito is, you know, clearly the easier of the two. I don't think Estrada should be screwing around with Ron Kosei personally, but you know, good for him for wanting it. Yeah, I don't think, by the way, looking at him, there is no, and being of about that size myself, there's no way Chocolatito is going to get down to 112. I don't see it. I know everybody thinks, well, they look at the numbers. He didn't have a lot to spare. He doesn't. And again, age is catching up with him. And age catches up with guys that small really, really fast. So I think he needs to get a few fights, you know, whatever it is he's looking to do, he needs to do it pretty quick, honestly. But it was nice, if briefly, to see the old Chocolatito back.
From what I'm hearing, he's going to be a part of the Superfly 4. The question is, who will it be against? Will it be against Estrada? Will it be against a Calify? Who knows? But at the very least, given how well he looked in this win, in spite of the clearly inferior opponent, in my opinion, he puts his name right back in the picture. He's going to get another big fight or two at 115 pounds, and you know he's still exciting. He can still give a good fight. Is he the fighter that he was? I don't think so. But you're going to see him in at least another big fight again. Let's move on to some news here. And I don't know if you heard about this, Lo, but some breaking news, not so kind breaking news regarding Billy Joe Saunders, as it seems like he's in trouble with the British Board Boxing Commission. Apparently, there is a video of him offering a woman crack for to perform a sex act on him, sex act on one of the passengers accompanying him in his Rolls Royce. Uh, Offered the same woman the money to punch a man walking down the road in the face. The woman's apparently agreed to demands. She wished to see the drugs in front of him. However, Saunders switched the conversation quickly to the dude who was walking past him in the car. Uh, I'm not going to go any further details and any kind of it. Defenders of Saunders saying this was a hoax. Um, I've seen the video. Ugh. Yeah, Billy Joe, not a good look. Your reaction, everybody, anybody who's seen the video, everybody who's seen the article, your comments.
I think this is falling in 10-foot pole territory. You know, just to clarify, not that the video is being claimed to be a hoax, but that Saunders supporters, defenders say he was just that he's a joker. He was joking around. It was all, you know, just for a laugh. It wasn't serious. He didn't do this on the up and up. I'm not rendering any judgment other than to repeat that information that is out there. And I'm not touching this one.
Yeah, even if it was a joke, I don't know if you're around, Low. Have you heard about this? But Daniel, even if this was a hoax, this is just something you don't do, especially when you got a world title fight coming up next month. Again, as I said before, this is a bad look.
I need to clear my throat a little bit. Because where to begin with this fuckery?
I mean, even if this is a quote unquote bad joke, what's he doing with crack? Really?
Well, okay. Well, first of all, let's first throw about it when he goes into it. Okay, you're, and I'm going to say this as nicely and as diligently as peaceful as I'll say it. How dumb fuck are you to even film it? First of all, if you're gonna play a joke on that and you're trying to do that, okay. If somebody else does it, it's something different. You're the dumbass that filmed it, thinking it could be a joke. That's number one. That's number one. Number two, like you mentioned, crack. Should we remind people that the UK is actually having somewhat of a resurgence in a crack epidemic and an STD epidemic right now? That's another thing. And let's go over to the whole article first.
I mean, Whitney Houston reminded us, told us, crack is whack. What are you doing?
Well, it's even that. Like, okay, I could say he tried to put a modified Eddie Murphy in a way, but when you go to the whole thing, okay, first you offer a lady crack to screw one of your boys in the car, and then you offer her money. And then, by the way, you offer her money to just go around and slap somebody. And if like again, your dumbass is putting the video out there, you accuse the person of pedophilia. There's that. But I'm not surprised. That's the bad part of it. I'm not surprised. This is Billy Ho Saunders. He's gonna keep doing fuck shit no matter what. Which is why I don't even think October 20th is likely going to happen, because for all intents and purposes, the British Board of Control might sanction him. Well, granted, yes, the fight is in Boston. He can say, like, oh, I'm not under the British Board's jurisdiction. But you know what? That board can petition the WBO. And with the way he's treated the belt, I'm pretty sure, even though, yes, it's a Frank Warren fighter, I'm pretty sure they'll be more than glad to take that belt off Billy Joe's hands. And by the way, should we remind people, if this is what Billy Joe Saunders does, we're really gonna do that. And by the way, put Tyson Fury in a week in Vegas when Billy Joe Saunders is one of his running buddies.
Man, look, I give Tyson Fury more credit for this. Even he wouldn't do something this stupid.
No, because he's smoking himself.
Are you there, Lo? If you're there, unmute yourself and comment on this.
He may actually just be reading it now.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think he's there right now. Let's go on to another story. Look, I don't even want to talk about this because I don't want to see this fight or potential fight. Look, news broke last week where...
Do we want to just call it the fight that should not be named?
Yeah, Mayweather and Pacquiao were some event, I want to say, in China.
The Tokyo Dance Festival.
Tokyo
Dance Festival.
Yeah, and Mayweather basically just sprouted up and said that he'd fight again, and that he'd fight a rematch with Pacquiao in December. Pacquiao responded that a fight is being made for him in December. Could very well be against Mayweather, could be against someone else, but he's fighting again in December. And now news reports are popping up that a fight is close to being agreed upon for Mayweather and Pacquiao to fight. I want to say either December 1st or December 8th. Whoever wants this, comment because yeah, I don't want to see it again. I want you guys were early on the show was talking about you don't want to see Canelo, Triple G Canelo 3. Well, I don't want to see Mayweather Pacquiao 2. Your thoughts?
Well, we don't want to see it. Boxing purists, if we want to call ourselves that, boxing connoisseurs, knowledgeable fans, have no interest in wasting their time on a fight like this. However, we are not the majority audience for a fight like this. The majority audience are the same numbnuts who paid for Mayweather McGregor after seeing Mayweather Pacquiao 1. And there's still more of those people than there are of us. And it's all about the money. You know, say what you will about Floyd. Floyd is a marketing genius. Genius. Everybody, he should be in every business school marketing textbook on the planet. And I'm sure one day he will be. He just happens to run into Pacquiao halfway around the world in Tokyo at a random dance festival. And I don't really think Floyd's a big fan of that music. So that was sort of sketchy right there. And in this massive stadium of tens of thousands of people, their two entourages just happened to walk up to each other with cameras rolling. Huh, that's a coincidence. Wow. Isn't that funny how that happened? Nothing Floyd does is by accident. And somebody reached Leonard Ellerby to ask about this. And all Ellerby had to say was, there is nothing Floyd has said that he hasn't eventually backed up and made reality. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, what's interesting about the dates, December 1st, think about it. Who else is on the calendar December 1st? Everybody? In Canada?
Oh, Stevenson and Gvozdyk?
Ding, 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 ding. Very, very good. There's also a date being held December 8th by Top Rank, however. Now it's a ESPN date being held, TBA. There's been a lot of talk about who's going to be on that date. The only other fight in December is of any importance is way at the end of the month. Right now, it's the Warrington-Frampton fight is on schedule. But, you know, keep your eyes on that December 8th date. Now, what is a little bit of a sticking point is not a conflict with boxing, but a conflict with the venue, because apparently Justin Timberlake has the T-Mobile Arena booked that weekend. So, you know, they need to find another venue in Vegas. And certainly the MGM is available. You know, who makes more money at T-Mobile? Mayweather and Pacquiao or Justin Timberlake? I would argue that Mayweather and Pacquiao make more money overall, given all the auxiliary things that go with a boxing match that don't really go with a concert. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the dominoes are all moved around the board. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw perhaps some venue changes. I don't know if tickets are already being sold for this concert, what the deal is there, what kind of negotiations go on. And hey, both those guys are very comfortable in the Grand Garden Arena. It's not that much smaller than the T-Mobile Arena. And, you know, raise the ticket prices, you're still going to get the same amount of gate. And there's still enough of, you know, people in the idiot class who are going to buy those. You know, it'll sell. It'll sell for sure. And
But that's dumb, though. It's
no,
dumb,
you know
though.
what? It isn't. Think about this, though. Pacquiao has a belt right now. Can you imagine Floyd, you know, goes after it, takes that belt off him at, you know, 51-0. You know, and of course, remember, maybe what else is driving him is that guy in, you know, our Thai fighter who just surpassed Floyd's 50-0. You know, he's got to get back at him.
But it's still dumb.
Of course it is. But you're talking to the wrong audience about dumb. The people that will buy this do not care.
How the same folks that are going to complain that they paid so much money, complaining how difficult it was to get the pay-per-view fight, complain about the fight being boring, gonna turn around and gonna pay for the fight again when there is no evidence.
That's
No
right.
evidence, A, that the fight is gonna change. B, the fight is gonna cost the same. That's
Of
dumb.
course. And a fool and his money are soon parted. And Floyd Mayweather knows exactly how to find those fools and part them with their money and put it in his pocket. And you know, on a lot of levels, I say, bravo, Floyd, good for you. Now, Floyd has a Mayweather Promotions card in Southern California a week from this Friday. Devin Haney is the main event on the Showbox card. Very interesting. I'm sure we're going to have quite the discussion on that broadcast.
I see Fink is commenting in the chat saying, first of all, what's up, Fink? He said he's one of the numb nuts who would watch the rematch. Let me respond. No, no, multiple exclamation points. Don't do it. Don't do it. Daniel, Low, if you're around, Low, comment on this.
Okay. First of all, yeah, it just so happens to have been a coincidence that, first of all, Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, the Honorable Manny Pacquiao, senator from the Philippines, find themselves in a dance festival in Japan. Now, like I said, we don't know what's happened. Maybe there was a little bit transfer funds for flight from Manila to Tokyo. Or maybe Pacquiao's back in that bullshit before he found God. Maybe he's feeling himself a little bit from the Matisse fight. And, it just so happens that you do this on a date where you normally fought but now has been co-opted by an actual Mexican. Floyd is not so much marketing genius. He knows where to push people's buttons, how to get attention on himself. Now, granted, luckily it didn't take away from Canelo Triple G2 because nothing was going to do that in that fight, the way how everything built that up. But you have to consider this, this is how badly the sentiment among us it again. When somebody asked Bob Arum, who when we talked about I think last week, it sounded like him and Pacquiao were back to being kumbaya. The direct quote is, "I don't have time for this shit." And he pretty much said, "I'm not going to renew Manny's contract. He's on his own." Think about that. That fight, the promotion, everything left such a bad taste in Bob Arum's mouth that he doesn't want to deal with it again. Knowing full well, like El mentioned, this fight will fleece a lot of people's wallets. Oh, and now guess what? You said December. You're not going to put yourself in a bit of a stalemate because unless that cut is really, really, really bad, and considering the opponent that it looks to be facing, Canelo's going to fight in December. And you know it will be pay-per-view. So you're basically trying to play a game of chicken if you're Floyd. Are you yield to me because I'm the brother? Or are enough people going to see through the ruse and realize I'm just here to take people's money and possibly placate my own ego because maybe somebody mentioned, a Thai fighter has 51-0, or somebody mentioned that Ricardo Lopez never lost a fight, and he won 51 fights. I just throwing that out there, but I don't want to see it. I've been dreading this for the past 3 years. I've been dreading it. It feels like the event, like the days are nigh. The end is nigh in a way. But
Yeah, yes, I basically said it all.
Jesus.
Fink mentioned some news regarding in the chat. Alvarez and Kovalev want to talk about it right quick. Apparently, the rematch is going to happen. However, the fight is not going to be on HBO. I'm going back to you, Daniel. You have talked about on your show and on other platforms how and even Roy Jones kind of intimated this after the fight. There's some issues going on with HBO. Yes, I know they got the fight, the fights at the end of the year, but there are also some fights that you would think that would be on HBO. It's not taking place on HBO. The question is, given the rumblings, could it be a possibility that HBO is soon to be done with boxing?
Probably live boxing. This is an issue that is beyond HBO. Like this isn't a decision where they're just saying we don't want to do boxing anymore. It's a decision that involves overall budget of HBO, and it also involves their parent company, Time Warner. Time Warner was hoping to have, I think, to have a merger with AT&T this year. But the deal fell through. Similar to like another major deal where CVS was supposed to be merging with CVS Viacom. I think we're supposed to be merging with locally in some areas with Sinclair Broadcasting. That fell through. But Time Warner was counting on that merger to bring a lot of revenue. They can't count on that right now. And like we've mentioned before, and how Gail will put it in with a lot of things that she covers. HBO for the past few years has focused a lot more on original programming. Has focused more on building up their catalog when it comes to dramas, when it comes to comedies, or when it comes to shows. There's this thing they had where you had boxing before. You didn't have Vice News Tonight or Vice every other 2 months that cost a lot of money. You didn't have Ballers. You didn't have Game of Thrones. As shows that have a dramatic amount of budgets. And let's not forget, they also focusing a lot of their sports budget to projects that Bill Simmons heads, because they signed him to a gigantic contract. Now, granted, they wound up having to cancel his own show because people just didn't like it. But he has done pretty good documentaries. He did one recently involving Andre the Giant for WWE, and early 2019, he's going to have a documentary that, by the way, is co-produced by LeBron James, featuring Muhammad Ali. There's that going into it, and then the fact that almost everybody else has felt it, has seen it. So Top Rank has said, okay, no, I'm going to find my own deal. I found it with ESPN. Golden Boy, to a certain extent, has done the same thing. Main event's now starting to look, because particularly with the way the Kovalev fight ended, had Kovalev won, they probably would have already been planning to make Kovalev Bibble right now. But the way that he lost, and the fact that we know Editor Alvarez is a Yvonne Michelle fighter, and Yvonne Michelle mostly deals with the PBC, there's no guarantee that it's going to be there. But by the way, yeah, the fight is going to be on, the rematch is going to be on ESPN. But players are sensing the headwinds that the creative direction that HBO is going at is not geared towards live boxing events. It's being geared towards like documentaries, news shows. Because even though like they may get out of the boxing business like broadcasting fights, I'm pretty sure the fight game will still be on. Because they gotta have some level of stamp into it. But money and pretty much just watching everything pass them by, anyway, as far as advancements in technology and streaming, it's hurt HBO in a way. And just the amount of fights that they put out, like Showtime for the most part has been kicking them in the teeth if we're going to compete there. And there's a good chance that Showtime's going to lose some fights too with the PBC deal that they did with Fox. So some things are changing. Like it's gone now towards streaming. It's gone now towards where people can pick like their own little networks to do when it comes to launching fights at not only their leisure, at what feels like a tenth of the cost of what it would be for a pay-per-view. And not to mention that this also adds into a general cord-cutting culture. People cutting the cord on cable, leaning more towards just buying subscriptions for the channels themselves. Or like with PlayStation. PlayStation has their own plan where you can buy things. You can buy channels. It's just a fact. To me, it's just something where I never just saw technology pass by.
One more news story. I'm going to you on this one, Gail, and I see Lois back. You can follow up. When Usyk unified the cruiserweight belt, he immediately called out Tony Bellew. Some back and forth words on social media and whatnot. Shortly after, Usyk signed a deal with Eddie Hearn in Matchroom. Well, news broke late last week that indeed we will see a Usyk Bellew battle November 10th in Manchester. I give credit to Bellew here, because originally when he was asked about Usyk, when Bellew was the cruiserweight champion, didn't want none of them. He probably smells money as much as anything. In spite of all that, the bottom line is this is a terrific contest. This fight will be at cruiserweight. Bellew's moving back down to 200 pounds. As big as Usyk's unification win was to unify all four belts, I can make an argument that this fight with Bellew is even bigger at cruiserweights. Bottom line, one of the best ways to end boxing to close out the year. I'm happy about this. This is I'm really looking forward to this fight.
Let's put it in one of our favorite categories of boxing around here on the Pound for Pound Report. I don't hate this fight. I don't hate it at all. And if it was money talking that got Bellew's attention, great. You know what? These guys fight for money. They should be rewarded. If there's good money in a fight, you'd be persuaded to change your mind. It's at home for you. That's another plus in Bellew's favor. And Usyk, and particularly his manager, the brilliant Igis Klimas, smartest manager in boxing by far, knows that Usyk's a good draw. He won his Olympic medal in Great Britain. Let's remember that. He's known to those guys. And if Usyk is ever going to move up to heavyweight and ever going to entertain any thoughts of fighting Anthony Joshua for a really big payday, and you can count on it, Usyk needs to keep his brand fresh in front of the Great Britain boxing audience. This is a great way for him to do it with low risk and with great money involved. What is not to love about that from every party involved? Everyone wins on this one. And if more boxing deals could be made like this, it just fall into place so nicely. Funny enough, it was Kathy Duva who said, you know, when the deals are right and everyone agrees, deals are easy to make. And this was apparently a very, very easy deal to make. Really a really good move for everyone involved. This is one of those everyone wins deals.
I had to mute you low because I was hearing some background noise, but open your mic back up and we went back to you. Look, for the record, I personally feel that Usyk is going to outbox Bellew, but still, I'm really, really glad the fight is made. All we ask for is in boxing is the best come together and fight each other. We're getting that with this fight.
Real quick, I was on the phone. I had to mute. I heard Stevenson Vosdick. What was it announced or something? I heard y'all, but I had to take a phone call.
No, we're talking. We were talking about this proposed rematch between Floyd and Manny, and the date that is being proposed could happen on the same day as Stevenson and Gvozdyk.
Oh.
That's all.
Oh, damn. Damn. All right, whatever. Please stay gone in, Floyd. Wait till next month. Do me a favor, Floyd. Next week, please. Damn. All right. Bellew, because they will push. He won't fight again for the whole year if that's the case. I promise you. Damn it. But anyway, Bellew Usyk. I don't know if Tony Bellew's the best, but he finds a way.
Yeah,
and that can make you the best. You know, that alone maybe could make you the best. All you gotta do boxing is you only gotta be the best on that night. You know, and that's what it is for not for 12 rounds, not for 10. You can end it quick as you want. That your skills allow, you can end it that quick. And he's been doing that. I picked him to beat Hay the first time. People told me I was crazy. I said, no, you're gonna beat that man. I said, you watch. Went in there and did it. I'm not picking him in this one. Usyk is the truth. Box all day, don't hold you one bit. Throw 800 punches, lateral movement. Okay, I like you, Tony, but it's up. The gig is up now, man. You got the money talking. He's going for the accolades. People shamed him because he didn't defend the title. He fought a money fight with Hay. They said, oh, his legs bad, even after they picked against him. But he's going for some legacy right here. I just don't think he accomplishes it. More power to him if he can. It's a great story, you know what I mean? Guys been beaten, guys been knocked out, 3 weight divisions he fought in. Most people don't do 75 cruiserweight and heavyweight. It's not that rare, but it's the top guys at 175 today ain't even thinking about it. The first jump, he did 3. So I can't wait to see it. I don't know the date they said yet. I know it's official, but
it's going to happen November 10th in Manchester, England.
Man, well, we under 2 months. It's a go. Usyk is going to be more than ready. Bellew's best chance is that Usyk gets in a fight with him. He's not that good when he's coming forward. It's simple with Usyk. He is not that good of an aggressive fighter, but he will do it from time to time. All the eyes going to be on him. I hope he learned this lesson in the Garcia fight. The best debut is that fight, nothing else. If he does that, potential 12-0, and that's for anybody he fights. But this right here, if he gets to fighting with Bellew, it makes it entertaining, but I still think Usyk walks away with it.
Indeed. Let's move on to preview some fights that's coming up. There's only a couple main fights I want to talk about. The big fight, of course, of the weekend, Anthony Joshua fighting. Wait a minute. Since you're here, I don't know if you heard about the news regarding Billy Joe Saunders. Low, your reaction to it?
Give it. I haven't heard. What is it?
Apparently, Saunders was well. There is a video out there, and from the video, it looks like Saunders was offering a lady crack to have sex with one of his boys. Uh, also offered the lady money to offer to punch a dude in the face who was just randomly walking by. Um, Once the conversation got halfway serious, Saunders changed the subject. Not a good look. Now, defenders of Saunders are saying it was just a joke, but even if it is a quote unquote joke, what is the dude doing with crack? Looks like he's going to be in trouble with the British board because of this. And bottom line, it's not a good look for
I've said it from the jump. Billy Joe's an asshole, and that's what he is. I don't take it serious no more. What the hell, man? I don't have Twitter, so I miss up. I lost my Twitter, so I miss a lot of this. Before, as soon as it's coming out, I used to get this, and I just get to shoot on it, and now it's just coming fresh live, and it's like the best word from my vocabulary is what it's been for him. The guy is an asshole, and it's lovable sometimes, but this one right here is just like, dog, what?
what
Crack?
what I'll do is
Did
I'll
he
send
have
you.
it? Did he really show crack, or was he just like, I got it, but I don't have?
I'll share you I'll share you in the private YouTube thing the article with the video.
Oh, Billy, bro, I hope the man didn't have no crack. You go from chicken wings to crack to no, Billy, come on, man. Come on, bro. You acting like Billy from White Man Can't Jump now. I'm about to say Billy, because that's how stupid you acting right now, bro. That's dumb. You know what I mean? You got a big fight coming up. I hope there's no trouble, but he can't do that one right. I get it. It's a joke. If you don't have the crack, was it a real crackhead looking woman?
I'm sure I just shared the video with you now. Check it out after the show while we're doing
All right.
the recap. Let's get to these previews. Joshua Povetkin. I'm going back to you on this one, Daniel. Taking place this weekend on DAZN. Your thoughts on it? Look, given how Povetkin looked in his last fight, I can understand why people are saying that, against the likes of Anthony Joshua not just beat him, he should knock him out. But I'm sorry. I want Joshua to win. I will admit that. But I'm feeling a little bit uneasy here. I think Joshua can be in some possible danger here. Your thoughts? It's just an uneasy feeling coming into this fight.
It just depends. How many drug tests has Povetkin done? That's pretty much all you need to know. Like, I know how I mentioned, like, when it came to Canelo, like, there was some bias there. With Povetkin, he did it twice, but he did it twice within the span of a year and a half. It's a difference between, like, okay, you pop twice in 3 days for, like, and the diminishing return on the second day, to doing it a year and a half. And not to mention, oh, by the way, you did it and you're in a country that has a doping program that went all the way up to the Kremlin. If you haven't noticed, folks, I don't think Povetkin deserves a shot, but when he's not on steroids, he does have a good skill set that may not be as similar, or may not be as fluid as what Klitschko has, but it'll be the best fight that he had since Klitschko. So that's where the uneasiness comes in, because remember, everybody's going to remember when Klitschko hit Joshua in that 6th round and Joshua dropped. And it made you think for a second that, is he going to get up? Povetkin might catch him with those shots going into it. But at the end of the day, Joshua's probably going to be more improved. He knows how to find mid moments. He's grown into the shadow, into like the shadow that was put on him. And I honestly think he stops him. I say 5th or 6th rounds, he just stops him.
On balance, Joshua should, Gil, but as I said before, I don't know. Something's feeling. I'm getting a weird, almost like Spidey sense going on with this fight for some reason. Your thoughts?
That's a really good way to put it. There is something off. You know, have you ever smelled a carton of milk and you think, well, it doesn't smell that bad, but I'm not sure I should drink this. It might be okay. What if I drink it and it makes me sick? Oh, I don't want to do that. You know, pouring out a perfectly good quart of milk. But, you know, you just think, ugh. You know, on the surface, everything seems okay. But, you know, it's very possible. I mean, anyone can lose a fight, no matter how, you know, much of a stiff the opponent is. And in this case, this is a live dog opponent. It's also very possible that Joshua, you know, whose reputation is riding very high, can have a bad day, bad fight, still win, but win ugly or win badly. You know, that could put a little bit of tarnish on him. And that would be a shame. That would really be a shame. But that is entirely possible. So we're going to all have to keep an eye on this fight and be ready for whatever comes down.
Whoa.
Your thoughts, Lo?
I just got back from the Billy Joe video, and you're talking about Anthony Joshua, right?
Yeah.
Wait
a minute. Your reaction to the video.
Oh man. That same word. I ain't even gonna waste a possible trip to hell on Billy Joe this time, man. I ain't even gonna do it.
Wiser by the day, my friend.
Like I said, it's just not a good look. I don't care if he was supposedly kidding around or not. What are you doing with crack though?
Logan Paul. But that makes me think of the Logan Paul dead body thing. Billy Joe skating along them lines, man. He going left. He was literally hunched down like, I got it if you need it.
I mean, didn't he learn from Whitney, man? Crack is whack.
Man, Billy, bro.
But yeah, back to the Joshua Povetkin fight. Your thoughts, man? Like I said, I'm feeling. I think Joshua, he should win on back, but I don't know. I'm feeling uneasy about this, even though Joshua should win this.
I'm losing confidence in Joshua, Ortiz, and Wilder. To be honest with you, I'm favoring Dillian White and Usyk to be my guys at heavyweight. I'm just feeling that vibe that they bring.
I don't know about that, but still,
yeah, just bringing something different and more. A different kind of hunger. I'm questioning Joshua every time we go into the fight. Is he lighter? Is he heavier? Is he this? He looks lighter, and next thing you know, he actually weighs heavier than he did last time. So it's just like, okay, does the man have a bodybuilding issue? He's not the best character to keep up for me as an American. I have no problem with him like some Americans, but it's just not. I'd rather watch Eddie Hearn speak and not just on issues of Joshua. Joshua is not he's not fun to watch. So I basically critique the style of Joshua, what I see. I don't never know what kind of shape he's coming in. And like I said, can't predict it. But with Povetkin, I know what's coming. He's coming to leap in, throw hooks. He wants to get on the inside, throw uppercuts, up jabs, you name it. Whatever a small fighter need to do to win. Joshua has looked suspect versus the shorter fighters. He ain't really lost a lot of rounds or anything like that, have been hurt, but it's just not his best performances. And those guys aren't, Takam isn't good as Povetkin as we see Povetkin lay him out. I don't know about the drugs thing. Just got to let Vada or whoever, I think Vada's handling it. Just got to let them handle that. I'm not a scientist. Don't care to talk about drugs in boxing. It's one of the most boring topics, but they handle that, and they picked him. So, well, he's a mandatory. They gave him the shot. They didn't drop the belt, so you're gonna have to fight him. And I think Joshua's gonna win the fight, but like I said, I just see him. I don't want to say declining, but is lack of better terms, declining.
Um, like I said, I want Joshua to win. Joshua should win, but again, it's just feeling that I have. That's just not all. It's just not kosher. Not all the way 100% kosher. Regarding this fight, you may want to sit this one out low because we're going lower weights here. Flyweights to be specific. Low key, very intriguing fight. In the flyweight division. Between Sho Kimura, who has the WBO belt, has been on a roll, beat Zhu Shiming by upset, scored a knockout in his first defense in July, I believe it was. He's turning right back around to fight on September 24th, fighting Kosei Tanaka. Outstanding smaller weight fighter. Won a belt at 105 and 108 pounds. He's looking to win a third world title in his third division. In only 12 fights. Fight is happening in Nagoya, September 24th. I'll go to you on this one, Daniel, and then you can follow up. Gail, and if you want to talk about it, fine. If not, I certainly understand. Again, one of the better fights out there that's one of the better fights out there that no one's talking about, mainly because of the weight division. Daniel, and then Gail, and then Lowe.
Okay, sorry. It's one of those fights where I say, like, why I mentioned Roman Gonzalez, like, try to get down to 112. You could probably do it. This could be a barn burner of a fight. That upset with Zhou Shiming was a thing of beauty, just because I just don't like Zhou Shiming that much.
And not only did he end him, he probably ended his career given Shiming's issues with his eyes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And ultimately, it's going to be a little bit in front of a barn burner. People that will pay attention to smaller weights. And like I said, I try to pay more attention as to get into it. It's just mainly the variance and the speed and the tenacity that these guys have. And that's what's going to get in this fight. So I'm just going to sit back for the fireworks. What time is it that it's going to be on?
I'm guessing the morning on the 24th, which will be on a week from today, as a matter of fact. I got to check out Nauta. He may do a live show on his channel discussing the fight, so I got to reach out to him to know specific time.
All right. Okay, that works. Yeah, because I could probably watch it before anything else. But yeah, that's gonna be a barn burner.
Gail, contrasting styles here. Tanaka, a real well-rounded fighter. Can box on the front foot, can box on the back foot. His punching harder the more he fights, and as he moves up in weight against a Kimura, who's more of a pressure fighter who doesn't let up. Very, very tough. Your thoughts?
These guys are both tough, and they're fighting at home. They're going to be in front of an enthusiastic audience, and Japanese fight fans are into it. I mean, they don't wander off to the bar during a fight. They don't start chatting up their friends. Their eyes are forward, and they watch and they pay attention with good reason, because Japanese fighters, you want to talk about action fighters, we can talk about Mexican style, and we did at the beginning of this episode quite a bit. We really should be talking a lot more about Japanese style. They employ, their technique is, so head and shoulders above. Their technique is excellent. Their speed is excellent. They, since so many of their fighters do tend to be smaller, the trainers know what to do with the tools they have with these guys. They don't try to turn them into little mini versions of cruiserweights or middleweights. They're not. They're never going to be. They have to employ speed. They have to employ, the fine motor skills of these smaller guys. And that's what makes them really fun and exciting to watch. And, they still have plenty of power, as we have seen. So it's going to be a fun fight to watch. It's one of those fights where The guy who wins is the guy who doesn't make any mistakes, because either of these competitors are going to exploit the other guy the minute they spot somewhere they can move in. I am so pleased we're seeing more and more of these early morning fights, even though it's killing me on the West Coast to get up and see these things if I want to see them live. Sometimes I just cannot do it when it's at 4:30 in the morning. But, once again, without sounding like I'm a paid spokesperson for ESPN Plus, ESPN, it's just outstanding to be able to see some of this stuff.
Any words on this fight, Lo, or you just don't know enough about him?
Yeah, don't know.
All right, let's move on and start to shut things down. I go to you, Gail, for those who want to talk the sweet science. Well, first of all, before I go to that, let me say this. When we did the show last week, it was a little bit iffy whether there would even be a show this week because I was dealing with hurricane were turned into tropical storm Florence. I want to thank everybody who reached out to me and asked how I was doing, how I am doing. I'm here to report now that everything is all still good. Shout out to Gus. He reached out to me via Skype, and others who reached out to me on social media. Gail did, Daniel did. Um, both from Truth and Facts About Sports, Jacob, a host of others on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, G Plus. Received a lot of rain. We're seeing some lot of winds. Went without power for a little bit late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. But me and the family were fine. No real damage to the neighborhood, anything like that. We were lucky. Unfortunately, for those who were on the coast, particularly North Carolina coast, not so much. I want to give a shout out to Chris Caban, who had to leave where he resides, had to evacuate because of the damage of the storm. He's doing, from what I understand, he's doing fine. So shout out to him and thoughts, prayers, condolences to those who suffered damage to their homes, those who lost their lives, those who dealt with and will be dealing with the effects of hurricane / tropical storm Florence for some time to come. Um, Now back to the usual spiel to end the show. Gail from Communities Digital News. For those who want to talk the sweet science, for those who want to talk Dancing with the Stars, Game of Thrones, environmental issues, small business advice, let the folks know where they can find you.
First of all, Game of Thrones awarded the Emmy for Outstanding Drama Series just moments ago. Thank you very much to the Academy. You can read me and my column, which is Ringside Seat, at Communities Digital News. And we are on the web at COMM, Digi, D-I-G-I, news.com. Although after this show, I needed boxing detox after last week. And by the way, one last thing, shout out to Franchon Cruz, who won a stupendous victory and the WBC belt over Maricela Cornejo, who is a wonderful woman and a bit of an overrated fighter. And Franchon took her to school, and I couldn't be happier for her.
And for those who don't know who Franchon Cruz is, just think Clarissa Shields. Cruz was Clarissa Shields' first opponent as a professional. They went to war for 4 rounds, toe to toe, back and forth. Shields won the fight, but Cruz, who is not just a fighter, but is a fashion designer as well. You can see her designs on a lot of the outfits, of a lot of ladies. I know she does the outfits for rising middleweight Raquel Miller out of San Francisco, as well as some other female fighters. So yeah, big time shout out to her. Big time congratulations to her as she won the vacant WBC super middleweight title this past week. So absolutely. Thanks for mentioning that, Gail. Low. I think he dipped out. Yeah. If you want to reach out to him, he's not on Twitter anymore. You can find him on YouTube, his YouTube channel, Low Place, hashtag MLPF. That's still there. So if you want to talk boxing or anything else with him, you can reach him there. Daniel from the Inscriber, for those who want to talk the sweet science, for those who want to talk the NBA, especially the Miami Heat, and given the news that Dwayne Wade has decided to come back for a 16th and final season. I know you may write something about that, but yeah, for those who want to talk science, for those who want to talk the NBA and the Miami Heat, let the folks know where they can find you.
Yes, you can find me on Twitter, Raucus99. I did write something on that. As the video goes on, it is hashtag one last dance for Wade. Get the retirement deals ready. The Orlando Magic already said they're going to do something because, according to the NBA schedule, the last time that Dwayne Wade will play in Orlando is December 23rd. But you can catch me, like I said, tomorrow. Me and the folks from 4boxings.com, Joe Francis, we did a mini reaction thing Saturday. It's up on SoundCloud. And to the fight, like I said, we had a couple of days to digest it. We're definitely going to go over a lot because, unfortunately, Joe's computer did this fan fight, so we weren't able to record the preview. So we have a lot to cover, from Ryan Garcia to put a Porter fight to this weekend. There's definitely a lot to cover, and obviously, the month is almost over, but we're going to get a lot of good fights.
Indeed. And again, I want to apologize. I tried to be on the immediate show afterwards, but the power kept flicking in and out where I live. Again, I want to give my apologies for that. For those who want to talk boxing, for those who want to talk music, for those who want to talk fitness, you know how to reach me on Twitter, Brother JR at Brother JR76. As I said to begin the show, if you want to find out all things regarding Pound for Pound Boxing Report, blog page is the place to go to, p4pboxingreport.wordpress.com. Once again, you can check the right of the page to find links to all of our channels, all over social media, just about everywhere, Facebook, G+, you know the deal. Also, wherever there's a platform that plays podcast, minus Spotify, you can check the right of the page and find those as well. On the next episode, we will do a recap of Joshua Povetkin. We will do a recap of Sho Kimura and Kosei Tanaka, and we will do a preview of German Ankanyas and Jose Uzcategui. They are both fighting on the same card in Oakland. Bout's going to be aired on ESPN Plus. The World Boxing Super Series final, super middleweight division, that's finally happening in Saudi Arabia. George Groves fighting Callum Smith. Jorge Linares is going to be fighting on the 29th as well. Manuel Char, Perez or Kendo, that's a fight we will not be talking about. Sorry. So yeah, we will be previewing a bunch of bouts happening on the weekend of on the 28th and the 29th. So yeah, this is episode 222 of the Pound for Pound Box Report. For Gail from Communities Digital News, for Low Plays, aka Scorsese. Love him, hate him, like him, don't like him. You're gonna listen to him. He's a lightning rod. It is what it is. Daniel from the Inscriber. I am your host, Michael. We will see you next time. Everyone else, have a good evening. Good night. And I want to thank everybody in the chat as well, the live YouTube chat. Gus, Fink, Joseph Beltran. Who else was joining us earlier? Yeah, Gus, Fink, Joseph Beltran, join us in the live chat again. Episode 222. We will see you guys next time. Have a good evening. Good night.